Hey guys, tonight we're heading into one of the strangest corners of Americana you've probably never heard of. A little town that only comes to life one day a month. Not for a festival, not for church, but for snacks. Very specific snacks. The kind that melt on your tongue and disappear from shelves faster than gossip in a high school hallway. You're in Orchard Falls now, a town with a population of around 4,000, but for one day, each month, it feels like 4 million. And why? Because on the last Friday of every single month, a tiny storefront opens. No neon lights, no social media, just a wooden sign that reads Lorette's since 1904. It sells exactly one thing, a dusty, crinkled little bag labeled Fizzle Thins. No one knows the full ingredient list. You could ask, but you probably wouldn't survive it. Seriously, you'd bite into one and vanish in a puff of garlic powder and crushed nostalgia. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And tell me in the comments, what time is it where you are? And what snack would your hometown be remembered for? Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're walking past rows of clapboard buildings all shuttered up tight. The air smells faintly of burnt sugar and moss. Somewhere nearby a wind chime rings, but it's not the wind, it's just time. The kind of time that only moves on the last Friday of the month. You shuffle up to the storefront, Lorette's, painted with what looks like mascara and age. There's a woman behind the window, impossibly still. Her hair is piled high in a bun that defies gravity and common sense. She doesn't blink. She just nods once, slow, and pulls the latch open. The sound it makes, like biting into dried celery. Inside it's dark, not creepy dark, more like velvet theatre curtain dark. Everything smells like cinnamon, ink, and ozone. There are exactly 7 shelves. Each has one thing, Fizzle Thins, stacked in hand-tied bundles, like they're waiting to be married off. You pick one up. The bag crackles, quietly, but with attitude. You open it. The snack inside, irregular, oblong, not chips, not crackers. Maybe some cursed hybrid that forgot to finish evolving. You take a bite. It's lemony, but also tastes faintly like attic wood and cheerleading practice. It shouldn't work, but it does. And then you hear it. Someone behind you whispers, "That flavor hasn't been sold since 1948. You turn around. No one's there, just a porcelain cat statue on the counter, eyes glowing faint blue. Welcome to Orchard Falls. Locals will tell you the tradition started in 1904 when Miss Lorette, yes, the original, baked a thin corn-based wafer infused with local honey, black pepper, and a hint of what she called shimmer leaf. Now, shimmer leaf doesn't exist in any botany book. Some say it was just mint, others say it was something she grew behind her bathtub, lit by a flickering Edison bulb and exactly 13 minutes of moonlight, but the real kicker, it only tasted good on the last Friday of the month. Every other day, it turned chalky, bitter. Some say it whistled if you tried to eat it on a Tuesday. No one knew why, but Miss Lorette was a businesswoman. She leaned into the mystery, declared that flavor deserves a date, and so began a tradition. Every final Friday, people lined up outside her store, drawn by a snack that tasted like the future used to feel. Fast forward to the 1920s, and Fizzle Thins were the unofficial sponsor of illegal speakeasies. Hidden under floorboards, smuggled in banjo cases. They say if you could crack a thin without it echoing, you were safe from the cops. Then came the Great Depression. Snack sales dipped, but not in Orchard Falls. No, people didn't need Fizzle Thins. They craved them. One letter from 1933 reads, "The breadline fed me. The thins reminded me I was still alive." And of course there were the side effects, mild mostly. Some folks reported vivid dreams of staircases that looped in on themselves. Others claimed their pets began dancing at 3:47 a.m., precisely 1 hour after ingestion. One man wrote to a local paper saying, "I ate one and remembered the name of every girl who ignored me in high school. I forgave them all." Historians still debate whether Fizzle Thins were actually psychoactive or if the town's water supply just had too much lead in it. But either way, the tradition stuck. Never advertised, never franchised, just one tiny storefront, one peculiar Friday. You step back outside, the bag is now empty. The woman behind the counter is gone. The cat statue, still glowing. You feel different, but you're not sure how. Maybe that's what makes this place so strange. Not the snack itself, but the ritual around it. One day, one flavor, one bite, and somehow it's enough. Next month, you'll come back. You won't remember how you found this place. You'll just know it's time again, and that's how Orchard Falls keeps you coming back. Not with neon, not with hype. Just a whisper of lemon, pepper, and something else. Something unnamed, but unforgettable. And that, my friend, is only the beginning. The woman behind the counter is gone, but the smell lingers. That deep, toasted scent of something both familiar and fundamentally odd. You keep walking, past the corner where the old bus used to stop. Past the mural of the town's founder, holding what may or may not be a snack in one hand and a rake in the other. There's no plaque, no explanation, just a faint smudge of lemon oil on the brick. And then, without really deciding to, you stop in front of a house, not yours, but you know it. Everyone in Orchard Falls knows Lorette's house. The front door is painted the color of spilled tea. A mailbox shaped like a cowbell. And in the front window, always the same thing, a single bag of Fizzle Thins sitting under a spotlight, like a museum exhibit no one talks about. It's said that if the bag tips over, if it's ever not upright, at dawn on a Friday, the shop doesn't open. And that's exactly what happened in 1972. They called her Old Lorette, but she wasn't that old, just the third generation. Sharp cheekbones, sharper tongue. She ran the store like a librarian runs a war room. Quiet, precise, ruthless about freshness. On the last Friday of every month, she wore the same dress, faded cornflower blue with tiny bees embroidered near the hem. But in February of '72, something changed. A blizzard rolled in from the north, unexpected, angry, covered Orchard Falls in 3 feet of snow and 6 inches of doubt. And that morning, just before sunrise, someone saw it, the bag in. The window had fallen over, no one knew why. Some blamed the storm. Others whispered it was because the mayor had tried to replicate the recipe using off-brand cereal and powdered milk. Whatever the reason, the doors stayed closed. And the townspeople? They panicked. Not riots in the street panic. More like silent desperation. Lines still formed, people standing there in snow up to their knees, staring at a closed sign that hadn't moved since Prohibition. A boy cried. An old man fainted, though that may have been unrelated. 3 hours later, Lorette emerged. No coat, no gloves. She simply stepped out onto the icy porch and cleared her throat. "I'm not opening," she said. The bag fell. You all know the rules. And then she went back inside. It became known as the Silent Friday. No Fizzle Thins, no sales, no answers. And here's the weird part. People reported phantom flavors that day. One woman claimed she could taste the snack in the air. A man said he dreamed about the crunch, woke up chewing on his bedsheet. A local dentist claimed to find trace amounts of spice dust on 3 separate patients who hadn't left the house. To this day, that bag from the window is kept in a glass case in the Orchard Falls Historical Society basement. And every final Friday they check the position. Twice. Historians still argue about the Silent Friday. Some say it was a power move, old Lorette reminding the town who was really in charge. Others think she genuinely believed the flavor wouldn't work unless the ritual was perfect. One professor, tenure track, glasses too big for his face, once wrote, "Ritual in Orchard Falls functions like salt. It brings out the memory of things you never truly tasted." Okay, sure, Professor, but for you it's simpler. The store opens, the snack appears, the town breathes, and when it doesn't, something feels off. Back on the street, the sun's getting low. The air is thick with stories. You pass the old billboard that used to advertise the thins. Faded now, it once read, "Flavor that knows the calendar." Someone's crossed out the calendar and written coven. Probably teenagers. Probably not wrong. You turn the corner, and there it is again, the same scent, like popcorn, if popcorn went to college and studied alchemy. A warm mix of sugar and dry leaves. You follow it, right up to the door of a man named Ephraim Dovey. Ephraim isn't in the brochures, he's not a main character. But back in the 80s, he was the one who saved the snack. After old Lorette passed in 1983, the store closed, not permanently, but it didn't open the next month, or the next. Rumors swirled. Was the recipe lost? Had the shimmer leaf gone extinct? Did someone eat the last batch without realizing it? Then Ephraim stepped forward. He was a janitor at the local school. Not exactly glamorous, but in his basement he had a collection of handwritten notes. Every generation of Lorette had written something down and left it behind, on receipts, hymnals, birthday cards. Ephraim had them all. He'd been quietly gathering the lore, and he pieced it together. The exact temperature, the amount of cornmeal, the spice ratios, the timing of when to hum an old folk song while the mixture cooled. In June of 1984, the store reopened, but only after Ephraim lit a lantern made from a Fizzle Thins bag and whispered the first Loretta's name backward. Seriously, he still lives there on Maple Lane. Still smells faintly like nutmeg and firecrackers. You knock, no one answers. But on the porch is a single bag, tied with a ribbon. Label written in pen. It just says, "Try me last," you pocket it and keep walking because it's almost Friday again. You wake up to a breeze that wasn't there when you fell asleep. A soft rustling, like a page turning inside a book no one's holding. Somewhere nearby, a radio crackles, just one note, suspended in static, before vanishing again. It's Friday morning. The last one of the month. You sit up in a small guest room above the old train station, converted into a kind of no-tell motel that only books rooms in 24-hour increments. The room smells like dust, lavender sachets and aged cheddar. And not the good kind of cheddar. The kind that's been vacuum sealed since the Carter administration. You stretch, shake out your limbs, and then you remember the bag from Ephraim's porch. You pull it out, still tied, still handwritten. Try me last, but last of what? Downstairs, the station is busier than usual. People pass through without boarding any trains. They shuffle, they nod, they mumble about today's flavor, like it's some kind of prophecy. You step outside and follow your feet, past Mrs. Delaney's mailbox, which is perpetually open, like it's screaming, past the statue of that horse no one remembers owning, and back to the town square where you find the line. It snakes around the block. People dressed like they're going to a cult-themed block party, sweaters, suspenders, a couple in matching bolo ties. Someone plays the saw. Another sells miniature flags that say thin or nothing. But the storefront isn't open yet. Loretes, still shuttered. Dust on the doorknob. Cat, statue blinking once every few seconds. You've still got time. So you wander. You find yourself outside Barrel and Snap, an old photo shop that hasn't processed film since Clinton was in office. But this morning, it's open. Inside, it's all yellow light and whispers. The owner, Gary, waves you in like he's been expecting you, which is weird because you've never met. You came to see the footage, he says, like it's obvious. He leads you to the back, past framed portraits of people eating something with unnaturally wide eyes. He inserts a dusty VHS into a monitor that hums like a nervous beehive. The screen flickers, and suddenly you're watching something incredible, black and white footage of a town fair, dated May 1937. There's music, there's dancing, and then a man bites into a Fizzle Thin and glows, literally. Glows, not on fire, not radioactive, just faintly lit from the inside like a pumpkin with secrets. No one panics, in fact the crowd cheers. Then the tape cuts out. Gary sighs. That was the last frame before the reel melted. Took the VCR with it. You ask if it was a special flavor, he shrugs. That was the Solar Time batch, only made once. FDA lost their minds. One senator claimed he tasted colors and confessed to 8 misdemeanors from the Coolidge era. You chuckle, he doesn't. Outside, the line is moving. Loretes is now open. People shuffle forward with a kind of reverence, like pilgrims at a fast food altar. You join them, sliding into place behind a woman in a tweed coat who smells like lemon and betrayal. By the time you reach the counter, the clerk doesn't ask what you want. He just hands you a bag. Today's label reads marrow, maple, cured in moonlight. You don't ask, you just take it. You exit bag in hand and head toward the fountain. That's where people usually sit. Snack, reminisce. Pretend they don't hear the low humming that starts around noon. But today you don't open the bag. You remember Ephraim's note, try me last. So instead, you watch. There's an old man 2 benches down who bites into his thin and immediately starts laughing, quietly, like he just remembered a joke he told wrong in 1975. A teenage girl tastes hers, then stares at her hands, whispers, "They're finally the right size," and walks away with the confidence of a retired magician. You keep your bag sealed because you've started to notice something. The snack changes people, not dramatically, not in a werewolf under the moon kind of way, more subtle. You blink and the mural across the street has shifted. The founder is now holding a Fizzle Thin in both hands, as if offering it to the sky. You rub your eyes. It's back to normal, or maybe it was never different. Later, as the sun dips behind the hills, you sit alone by the train tracks. The sky is bruised. with the kind of colors they only put in old travel posters. Purples, deep oranges, a green that feels earned. You take out the bag from Ephraim. The ribbon slips off like it was tired of holding on. The scent that escapes is indescribable. Not because it's too exotic, but because it smells exactly like something you once loved and forgot. You take a bite, and suddenly you're back in the 4th grade cafeteria. The one where you traded a pudding cup for a mystery cracker that made you cry, just a little because it tasted like home. The crunch echoes across the rails. For just a second, the air feels heavier, like it's holding its breath. And then, just quiet, you lean back, you smile. You don't know what day it is, but you know it's enough. The town doesn't really sleep on last Fridays. It naps, uneasily, like an old cat with one eye still open. You can feel it in the sidewalks, the way they hum faintly beneath your feet. You can see it in the street lamps flickering not from electricity but from something older. Ritual, maybe, or sugar. You walk back toward the town square where the smell of warm cornmeal still hangs in the air like a memory that hasn't made up its mind yet. Most of the crowd has gone. A few linger, quietly chewing, staring at the moon like it owes them something. And then you hear the crunch. Not yours. Not from a bag. From behind the old courthouse. You round the corner and see them. 2 kids, crouched, in front of a vending machine that shouldn't exist. It's huge, rusted, covered in stickers from brands that were discontinued before your parents were born. Zork bars, Peppy Dew, Moon Crust gum. You've never heard of them, and yet your tongue twitches like it remembers. The kids scurry off when they see you. One drops a wrapper. It says, Friday flavor, June edition, unauthorized. You approach the machine. There's no coin slot, just a crank, and, scrawled across the top, in Sharpie, for emergency use only. Seriously, you pause. Because let's be honest, what counts as an emergency here? Running out of maple marinated snack wafers? Needing closure from a decade-old flavor memory? You crank it, something drops with a thunk. You reach down and pull out a bag. Dusty, faded, zesty vinegar sparks, discontinued 1949. You turn it over and find a warning, not for use during thunderstorms, tax audits, or moments of emotional clarity. Naturally, you open it. The smell hits you like static from a warm television. It's vinegar, yes, but with something else, something prickly like regret bottled in citrus. You taste it, and for exactly 3 seconds, you remember every mistake you made in 2011 all at once. Then it's gone. Back on the street, the sky is beginning to pulse that strange blue it always turns before midnight, last Fridays. You pass a newspaper box with one front page sticking out. Snack maker blamed for regional insomnia. Spike, dated 1968. You chuckle until you yawn. Then you think, maybe that's not a joke. Later you wander past Chester's General Store, which hasn't been open since disco died, but somehow still has new inventory every month. Chester was the one who tried to mass produce. Fizzle Thins in the 1950s didn't go well. He built a factory on the edge of town, right next to the cornfields. Hired 20 workers, all of whom were required to whistle during shifts to keep the flavor particles active. Within 2 weeks, the snacks came out bitter, a kind of bitterness that wasn't just taste, but tone. People who ate them reported mood swings. One woman said she remembered her ex-husband's exact handwriting. One man wrote a breakup letter to a goldfish. Eventually, the town council intervened. They held an emergency vote mid-snack. And just like that, they passed the Flavor Purity Act of 1952, which prohibited any mechanical production of ritual-based consumables. Only hand-prepped batches, only on last Fridays. No automation, no exceptions. Historians still debate whether this was more about flavor or control. Some say the machines learned the taste of disappointment and infected the process. Others say Chester just cut corners on pepper dust. You step closer to the store and see a handwritten sign taped inside the glass. We tried. It bit back. That's the thing about snacks like these. They're not just food, they're time capsules, tiny, edible fossils of how people used to feel about Fridays, about flavor, about longing, and sometimes longing turns to obsession. Take the case of Geraldine Huxley, who ate a Sun Pepper Crunch in 1960 and claimed she could suddenly remember all the conversations she'd ever overheard while pretending to sleep on long car rides. She wrote it all down, 5 volumes. They're kept in the back of the town library. Locked in a cabinet labeled Geraldine's Archive of Inappropriate Whispering. You pass that library now, it's never open after sundown. Except on last Fridays. And tonight, the lights are on, but you don't go in because part of you understands. Some flavors are best left unopened. Instead, you sit by the fountain again. The crowd is gone. The moon is high. Your bag, the one from the vending machine, crinkles faintly, even though you're not touching it. A breeze passes. It smells like vinegar and thunder. You sigh. It's quiet now, but not the kind of quiet that says, go to sleep. The kind that says, pay attention. And in that silence, you think about the truth. That flavor has always been more than taste. It's memory, it's timing, it's trust. And here in Orchard Falls, you don't consume the snack, you join it just one crunch at a time. You wake up to static. Not in your ears, not from a screen, just around you, like the air forgot to exhale. It's still dark, but the sky has that indigo stain that tells you morning is trying. Somewhere far off, a rooster starts crowing, but the sound warps halfway through, like it changed its mind and became a trumpet. Classic Orchard Falls. You're on a bench by the fountain, legs stiff, snack crumbs dotting your shirt like ancient confetti. There's something comforting about being mildly uncomfortable in a place this strange, like your body knows it's not supposed to fully relax here, not until you leave. If you can leave, you stretch, you stand, and right away you feel it, that gentle tug behind your ribs, the kind that means you're not quite done with this place yet. You wander back toward Main Street. The signs all seem freshly painted, even though you know they're not. One reads, breakfast hours, dusk until the feeling passes. Another just says, yes, we know. The town's quieter now, the rush is over, the snacks have been consumed, secrets remembered, mistakes retasted. It's the lull after the flavor storm, and that's when you see it. A flyer, nailed to a crooked bulletin board next to the post office. Seeking test participants, Friday, flavor variants. You tear it down, you don't think, just move. The address leads you to the edge of town, past the soybean silo that hums at night, past the greenhouse that only grows mint and only in odd years, and then you're there, a squat brick building, with no name, no doorbell, just a slot. A piece of tape is stuck above the slot, handwritten in red, Sharpie. Insert consent, snacks will follow. You blink. You look around, and then you pull out the flyer, fold it in half, and slide it through. The door clicks, you step inside. The hallway smells like chalk dust and popcorn that's been meditating. Fluorescent lights flicker overhead, but the pattern doesn't repeat. There's a rhythm, but it's improvising. At the far end, a table. A man in a lab coat sits behind it, though his coat is printed with snack logos from at least 5 different decades. He's holding a clipboard, but writing nothing. "Flavor courage?" he asks without looking up. You nod. He gestures to a tray. 7 snack samples, tiny, bite-sized, each labeled with a sticker: mint, echo, pepper, ghost, blueberry regret, banana static, corned, mystery, spice null, untitled, number 7. You reach for blueberry regret, mostly because it sounds like a bad breakup and you're curious how that tastes. It dissolves on your tongue like melted nostalgia. A burst of fruit, then a sudden pang in your chest, as if you just remembered a birthday you forgot to call home for. Sweet, sharp, and gone too fast. The man behind the table finally looks up. He says, "You handled that better than most." You ask what would have happened if you'd chosen untitled, number 7. He shrugs. Still an open question. Nobody's come back to explain it. He hands you a slip of paper. No words. Just a drawing. A spiral staircase leading downward. You nod because... What else are you going to do? And open the door behind him. You're underground now. The walls are lined with old vending machines, some still faintly glowing. One is gently crying. There's a soft whir in the distance, like an enormous mixing bowl turning very, very slowly. You come to another room. No furniture, just a mural. It's painted in snack dust, no kidding. You can smell the nacho in the shadows and the ranch in the brushstrokes. The mural shows a field, corn, wind, stars overhead. And in the center, a child, holding a Fizzle Thin in both hands, like it's the answer to a question they were born asking. Beneath it, a phrase, "One crunch to remember, one to forget." You sit down, you don't know why, and the room shifts, not literally, but your sense of it does, like the ceiling stretches upward, or your own thoughts shrink to accommodate something bigger. And that's when you realize every snack here has a story, and not just a backstory, a memory. They're all built on something lived, someone's sorrow, someone's celebration, a birthday, a mistake, a joke that landed perfectly at the dinner table. You wonder how many of your own memories have been turned into snacks, how many things you thought you forgot are just waiting to be tasted again. Eventually the lights dim, a speaker crackles on. Test complete. Please exit via the lemon door. You look to your left. One of the walls is now slightly yellow. Smells like citrus and nervous apologies. You push it open and you're outside again. Back in Orchard Falls. Back in the sunlight, which now feels too loud. You walk slowly, bag of pepper ghost still in your pocket. You're not ready for it yet. Maybe next month or maybe never. Because the thing about flavor, the true kind, the kind this town deals in, is that it only works when you're ready and you're not just yet. You don't go home, you walk. Through side streets that seem to lean in close like they're trying to eavesdrop on your thoughts, past fences held together with zip ties and faith, past gardens that bloom only in crescent moonlight and shrink, away when noticed. The streets of Orchard Falls aren't laid out in any logical pattern. You learned that quickly. They twist and branch like veins or roots, depending on whether you believe this town is alive or just very stubborn. Eventually, you find yourself back at the train tracks. No train, of course. The tracks haven't been used in decades, except, according to local gossip, on the last Friday of every May. That's when people say it rolls through again, the snack train. You've heard the rumors. Everyone has, that sometime around midnight, if you stand in just the right spot, facing west, with your pockets empty and your mouth shut, you'll see it. No whistle, no smoke, just a sudden change in the wind. And then it's there, gleaming, humming, made of chrome and memory. The snack train. It never stops. But some say if you hold up a Fizzle Thin and whisper your favorite flavor, a compartment door will slide open. And inside, shelves lined with discontinued dreams. In 1954, a boy named Jimmy Leeds claimed he saw it. He was 11, had just lost a spelling bee, and ran off crying into the woods. Found himself by the tracks chewing a stolen thin, whispering the word, "Cinnamon!" The train appeared. He swore it, drew pictures of it in crayon, told anyone who would listen. The town shrugged it off until he disappeared the following year. No trace, no note, just a trail of crumbled snacks leading back to the tracks. Some say he lives on the train now, curating its flavors, tending to its ovens, teaching ghost conductors the difference between salt and sass. Historians argue whether Jimmy ever existed, but every May, just before midnight, someone always shows up, just in case. You're here now, not because you believe, but because, well, what else is there to do? You sit. The metal of the tracks is cold beneath you, even in the warmth of early summer. The sky is cloudless, but the stars keep blinking off, and on like they're buffering. And then you feel it, a hum, low, not in the air, in your spine. The grass around you flattens slightly, as if bowing to something too fast to see. You hold your breath, nothing, no train, just silence. And one very persistent firefly doing loop-de-loops, like it's auditioning for a light show. You almost laugh. Of course it didn't come. But then you look down, and there, between the tracks, is a small box, unlabeled, sealed with string. You pick it up. It smells like rosemary and bubble gum. You open it. Inside, one single snack. Not a Fizzle Thin. Not anything you recognize, just a pale, round wafer with a slight shimmer to it, like it's coated in nostalgia and powdered sugar. You taste, and immediately you're 6 years old again, standing on your grandmother's porch. She's wearing that yellow apron, the one that never fit quite right. She hands you a cookie and says, "Don't chew too fast, that flavor's got opinions." You laugh because, of course, she never said that. Except, maybe she did. Maybe you just forgot. You come back to yourself with a snap. The box is gone, so is the snack. The tracks are silent again, but you feel lighter. Not just physically, something inside you let go. Something that had been clenched for years, unconsciously, quietly, has finally softened. And that's when you understand the snack. Train doesn't come to give you something, it comes to take something from you, just a little, just enough. The bitterness, the guilt, the moment you said the wrong thing and never corrected it. It collects those flavors, stores them, maybe transforms them into something new for someone else. You whisper a soft thank you to no one in particular, and you start walking back. You pass the diner, which is closed but still glowing. You pass the statue of the unnamed dog who saved the town's first recipe book from a grease fire in 1921. And you pass a lamppost with a sign taped to it that reads, "Lost Flavor. Last seen on a humid Friday. Answers to Snap Sugar number 3. If found, do not engage directly." You smile because of course it answers to that. You wake up to the smell of toasted marshmallow, which wouldn't be strange, except you're not in a campground. You're lying on a couch in a room that doesn't belong to you. Wood-paneled walls, a lava lamp bubbling silently in the corner, a rug shaped like a pancake, and Someone's cat, probably, perched on your chest, staring at you like it's keeping inventory. There's a note on the coffee table. It just says, "You walked in last night, said nothing, took off your shoes." Quoted a cereal commercial from 1982. Help yourself to the leftovers. There's no signature. You sit up, groggy, mildly sticky, and vaguely aware that you're still inside the weird gravitational pull of Orchard Falls. And if you're being honest, you're okay with that. You find the kitchen. It's organized. Chaos. Cabinets labeled in marker. A box of sugar dip nods sitting upside down in the sink. A fridge magnet shaped like a Fizzle Thin with googly eyes. On the counter is a plate of s'more dust bites, a snack discontinued in 1979 after the FDA ruled they were too emotionally evocative for preteens. You eat one, and you immediately remember the smell of wet sneakers after summer camp. You eat another. Suddenly you're sitting in the back of your mum's station wagon, watching lightning bugs through a fogged-up window while holding a glow stick that no longer glows. You stop eating because you're not ready for what bite 3 might unlock. Outside, the sun is rising in that weird sideways way it does in this town, like it's embarrassed to be seen fully. You step into the street and notice that everything looks slightly tilted. Not physically, but emotionally. As if the buildings are trying to pretend they weren't just up all night reading your diary. You pass the post office. There's a new sign in the window. Lost and flavored. Claim your forgotten taste here. You walk in. The inside smells like cinnamon bark and static electricity. The clerk, a woman wearing headphones plugged into a toaster, waves you forward. "Name?" she asks without looking. You hesitate. She sighs, pulls out a manila folder, and hands it to you. On the tab, you, probably, inside a questionnaire. What flavor did you forget on purpose? What memory would you retaste if it wouldn't hurt? Have you ever chewed through a feeling just to keep it quiet? You don't answer. You just hand it back. She nods, opens a drawer, pulls out a tiny cube wrapped in wax paper. This was yours. June 2007, left it here after a bad phone call and a worse haircut. You take it, it's warm. You don't eat it, not yet. You put it in your pocket for later, for when the road out of town feels less like an escape and more like a permission slip. You exit the post office into sudden fog, not mist, not weather, fog thick, intentional. Like the town itself just exhaled. Shapes move in it, figures maybe. You stand still, snack cube in pocket, breath shallow. And then a voice emerges from the fog, casual and bored. Do you know what today is? You squint, but no one's visible. Another voice answers. It's Reversal Friday. The fog lifts just enough for you to see them. 2 teenagers in varsity jackets made entirely of snack wrappers. One is holding a clipboard. The other has a bubble wand that appears to blow savory smells instead of soap. You ask what Reversal Friday is. They exchange glances. One shrugs. It's the day the flavors remember you. You try to ask more, but they vanish. Not dramatically. They just aren't there anymore. In their place, a paper bag. You pick it up. Inside, a mirror. Not glass, just a highly polished snack foil wrapper. Your reflection blinks once, then grins at you in a way that feels like a dare. On the back of the bag, snack responsibly. Memories are wild creatures. You carry it with you, because at this point, who wouldn't? By now, the fog is gone. The sky is clear. The streets are empty again. But you notice something new, something you hadn't seen before. A tiny stand set up next to the laundromat. Just a folding table, one chair, and a handwritten sign, flavor. Testimonies, tell yours before it changes. No one's sitting there, just a small cassette recorder and a bowl of individually wrapped candies labeled Truth Mints. You sit, you press record, and for the first time since arriving, you speak. You talk about a summer you forgot, a person you still dream about, a snack you think you invented, but maybe once actually existed. You talk until the words run dry and then you unwrap a truth mint, pop it into your mouth and taste something that feels like forgiveness. Not full, just enough. By now, you've stopped asking questions. Not because you've found all the answers, but because you've learned the questions were never really the point. You walk, it's what you do here. The streets of Orchard Falls don't lead you to places. As much as they lead you to moments. You turn a corner and suddenly it's 1982 and someone's arguing over the correct way to pronounce zesty. Turn again and you're back in 2025, watching someone cry into a bag of corn-based shame. With extra paprika, it's all elastic here. Memory, flavor, time. They mix like ingredients in a casserole. No one really likes but keeps making anyway. You end up near the river. It's more of a stream, really. Narrow, quiet, the kind of water that doesn't go anywhere, just pretends. 2, there's a bridge. Short, wooden, painted a shade of green you can't name but somehow feel. And nailed to the side of that bridge is a mailbox. No address, no lock, just a label. Confessions, regrets, and old recipes. You open it. Inside are dozens of folded notes. You read a few. I added mustard to the 1973 batch. I was angry. I'm sorry. I lied about tasting the coconut. I just didn't want to feel left out. The original Fizzle Thin was an accident. There, I said it. You smile, because of course it was. You leave a note of your own. Nothing dramatic. Just a scribbled memory of eating a half-stale snack in the backseat of your cousin's car, laughing so hard you choked, and someone called you Captain Crumble for the rest of the summer. You fold it, slide it in, the mailbox gives a little creak, like a burp of acknowledgement, and you keep walking. The path curves and leads you to the vault. You didn't know it existed, most people don't, until they do. It's built into the side of a hill, disguised as a storage shed. A tiny brass plaque reads, Archivum Gustatorum. Flavor archive, if your Latin's rusty. You push open the door. It's bigger on the inside, obviously. Rows upon rows of filing cabinets, not organized alphabetically or chronologically, but emotionally. You see labels like bitterness that wasn't earned, joy, so sudden it hurt. That feeling you got when they said they loved you but didn't mean it. You wander between them. And finally, you find the section labeled Snacks that changed you. There's a small screen built into the wall, a simple prompt. Please input the name of the snack. You hesitate, then you type Fizzle Thin. The screen flickers and then shows a film. Grainy, quiet, looping. It's you, across your life. Moments you didn't know were connected until now. Holding a bag of thins during a thunderstorm at 12. Offering one to a stranger on a Greyhound at 22. Dropping one on the sidewalk and choosing not to pick it up. Each moment, ordinary. Each moment now, luminous. You watch yourself become a person without realizing you were doing it. Void, screen fades. You're alone again. Except for the whisper behind you, a voice old and warm says, "You're doing fine." You don't turn around. You just whisper back, "I'm trying." You exit the vault into golden light. Sunset is the most honest part of the day here. Nothing tries to hide, even the shadows sit still. You sit on a bench shaped like a tortilla. chip, and watch the sun melt over the hills. In your pocket is the Truth Mint wrapper. You smooth it out on the inside in tiny print. You were always the flavor. You let out a breath you didn't know you were holding, and the breeze smells faintly of toasted sugar and second chances. Evening in Orchard Falls arrives not with a bang or a bell, but a soft dimming, like someone turning the world down just a notch, the way you might lower the brightness on your phone before bed. Shadows stretch slowly, like they're reluctant to commit. Porch lights flicker on by instinct, and the air cools with purpose. Cool enough to wake the senses, warm enough to lull them again. You're walking now, not toward anywhere, just away from everything else. Until you hear the music. Not loud, not polished, just a lazy, scratchy tune, leaking from an old cassette player sitting on the steps of the Flavor Museum. The museum itself is nothing more than an old gas station someone gave a second chance. The pumps have been repurposed into candy dispensers. A faded mural along the side wall reads, "Where taste became time." You step inside, a bell jingles, but from somewhere deep in the floorboards. The air is thick with 1,000 smells, all trying to be polite about it. Licorice, vinegar, burnt sugar, and something unplaceable that makes your tongue itch, just thinking about it. There's no one at the front desk. Instead, there's a hallway lined with exhibits, each one dedicated to a snack that didn't survive the years, but lived loudly while it lasted. You stop at a glass case. Inside, a single chip, perfectly preserved. The placard reads, "Crispy Whisper," the snack you couldn't hear yourself chew. Discontinued after diners began reporting existential crises mid-bite. Next to it, a tiny speaker plays a loop of testimonies. I chewed one and remembered every lie I ever told. Tasted like secrets. The good kind. It made silence taste like a flavor. You move on, another case. This one holds a photograph of a woman laughing in a grainy kitchen. Behind her, a stovetop with a tray of round, pale wafers. Flakelets, invented by accident during a divorce, brought 3 families back together before mysteriously ceasing production. A child's crayon drawing is taped beside it. It's labeled, "My Mom" before the snack, "My Mum" after the snack. The after version has wings. You wander deeper. There's an entire wing called The Mistaken Flavors. Salted vanilla despair, barbecue hope, too much, pickled moonlight. Each one had its moment, its believers, its regrettable side effects. One case is entirely empty except for a single note. Do not remember this flavor, you're not ready. You nod in agreement, even though a tiny part of you aches to know what it was. But that's how memory works, isn't it? You want to taste the past, but only the parts that won't bite back. At the far end of the museum, there's a velvet rope. Beyond it, a small locked cabinet. A sign above reads, "Access restricted, personal flavor histories." You recognize your name on one of the drawers. It's handwritten, uneven, like someone scrawled it just moments before you arrived. You ask no one in particular, "Can I open it?" And no one answers. So you do. Inside, a single index card. On it, 3 words, cherry. September, forgiveness. You don't know what it means, not yet. But your eyes sting a little, and you tuck the card into your pocket, right next to the cube from the post office and the wrapper from the Truth Mint. You're starting to build a collection, or maybe you always had one. You're just starting to see it. You leave the museum just as the moon begins to rise. It hangs low tonight, suspiciously full. The kind of moon that makes shadows whisper and windows close themselves. You walk past someone selling roasted peanuts out of a saxophone case. They nod solemnly. You nod back. No transaction. Just mutual understanding. You sit on a bench outside the bakery. The smell of fresh dough curls around your ankles like a cat looking for gossip. You close your eyes and you remember something. A bus ride, a shared snack. Two strangers laughing over a bag that tasted like grape soda, but only emotionally. You never got their name, but the memory's still there. Still warm. Still yours. You open your eyes and you swear the moon just winked at you. Because here in Orchard Falls, everything has flavor, even the sky. By now, you've stopped using your phone. Not because there's no signal, there is somehow, but every time you check it, the notifications are odd. One from your calendar. Meeting with flavor, reschedule. One from your notes app. You wrote this before, try not to forget again. And a voicemail from a number labeled P-tweet. Do not pick up. That just plays static, followed by the sound of distant chewing. So yeah, phone's off, pocketed, muted like an embarrassing ringtone in a quiet room. Because tonight, in Orchard Falls, reality is handling the updates. You walk west. There's no reason for it except that west feels right. The stars above you have shifted slightly, some forming new shapes, others blinking like they're trying not to laugh. You pass a corner bookstore called Last Bite Reads. Every book smells like toast. The titles change when you look away. One reads Salted Pages, Recipes for Things You Almost Remember. Another, Chewing Through the Silence, a memoir by someone who never spoke. You don't go in? Not yet. You're pulled further down the road. Eventually, you find a tiny stage set up in a gravel lot. Half the audience is made of mannequins dressed as people you almost became. The other half? Just regular folks, quiet, snack balanced on their knee types. A sign above the stage reads, Flavor, Testimony Night, True Bites Only. A man steps up to the mic. He's holding a bag of something red and crinkly. You can't read the label. Clears his throat and begins, I once ate a snack that tasted like the moment I got my first apartment. Cheap carpet, bad decisions, that one lamp I never plugged in. I remember thinking, I'm free, and then realizing freedom doesn't come with a manual. This snack, it brought it all back. I cried in aisle 4. Someone handed me a napkin and just nodded. Didn't even ask what flavor it was. The crowd murmurs. Not applause, just agreement. You sit down and realize you're holding something in your hand. You don't remember picking it up. A small tin labeled Second Chances. Chew slowly. You open it. Inside, 3 chews. Soft. Faintly blue. You eat one, the texture is perfect. It dissolves like an apology you were finally ready to give. And suddenly, you're standing in your childhood kitchen. Not really, but memory real. The light is amber. Your father is cooking something that will definitely burn. He says your name wrong on purpose and you both laugh. That laugh wraps around you like warm laundry. Then it's gone. You're back at the gravel lot, still chewing. Still you, but softened. The mic is open. A woman steps up. Her snack glows faintly. I tasted something called static sugar, and for 1 second, I remembered what it felt like to be wanted without explanation. I didn't need to explain myself. The snack just knew. Another nod from the crowd, no clapping, just respectful silence, the kind people usually reserve for church or really good thunderstorms. You think about standing up, you don't, not tonight. The man next to you offers a bag labeled, "We regret limited reissue." You politely decline, you've had enough of that flavor lately. Instead, you pull out your cherry September forgiveness card from earlier. Hold it up to the moonlight, and for the first time, you remember, it was a back porch, a glass of warm soda. You had just lost something, not big, not devastating, but enough to sting. And someone handed you a cherry snack and said, "Here, this makes it less sharp." You ate it, and for one brief moment, it did. You exhale. Deep, honest, the kind of breath that makes space in your chest. As the crowd begins to leave, the mannequins remain seated, their faces expressionless, but you swear one of them winks at you. You walk past them toward the edge of the lot. There's a small sign pointing left, exit if you're ready, and one pointing right, one more bite. You stand there for a while, not because you're indecisive, but because both sound right. Eventually, you go right. Because in Orchard Falls, the journey is never quite done. There's always one more bite, one more memory, with powdered sugar on top, one more flavor that knows your name before you say it. The path winds like a sentence you started writing before knowing how it would end. Trees lean in overhead, their branches heavy with something you can't name, something that smells faintly like toasted cereal, and rain on pavement. Ahead, there's a soft glow. You follow it, your footsteps muffled by moss and memory, until you find yourself at the gates of the preservation lab. It doesn't look like much, just a squat concrete building with vines growing over a neon sign that blinks. Freeze what you forget. You push open the door. It hisses like a soda can opened in slow motion. Inside, the air is cool, humid, as if the room is preserving not just snacks, but conversations, secrets, maybe even unsent text messages. Rows of long freezer cabinets line the walls. Each is labeled with names, years, and, strangely, moods. Sad Crunch, 1994, extra brittle. Bittersweet Bark, April, mostly Tuesdays. Laugh Puffs, unstable, refreeze if recalled too fast. You walk slowly, fingers trailing across glass that hums back at you like a low lullaby. 1. Cabinet is cracked open. You peer inside and find a single snack bar, wrapped, untouched. Its label has your handwriting. You don't remember writing it. Don't eat unless you mean it. You pull it out, feel its weight, small but significant, like a choice you haven't made yet. You tuck it away for later, maybe. Further in, you pass a room labeled Tasting Simulations, for those who can't let go. Inside, people sit, in recliners, eyes closed, headset on, their hands moving subtly, as if touching invisible wrappers. They smile. They frown. One sobs gently. You hear a technician explaining in a whisper. This one's reliving her first popcorn at the drive-in. Took 3 weeks to find the right artificial butternote. You move on because you're not here for simulation. You want something real. At the end of the hallway, a door marked Found Flavors. A bell chimes when you enter, deep and resonant, like a grandfather clock trying to comfort you. Inside, a circular chamber, glass jars line the shelves. Each contains a glowing, swirling vapor. A sign reads, "These are the flavors that came back on their own." A woman in a silver apron walks over. Her eyes are calm, but impossibly tired. You look like someone who's carried a taste for too long. You nod. Because it's true. She gestures to a jar labelled backyard firelight. Slight burnt. I think this one's yours, she says. You open it, and the scent that spills out is unmistakable. Marshmallow gone slightly black, a hint of graham cracker, and someone laughing through their braces. You close your eyes. You're in a lawn chair. Your cousin is telling a ghost story that's going off the rails. Your mom is humming through a screen door. And your fingers are sticky, but it doesn't bother you. The moment isn't perfect, but it matters. You take a breath. Let it in, let it go. When you leave the preservation lab, it's almost midnight. The stars above you are bright enough to sting. You walk slowly now, like the ground deserves it. Back on Main Street, there's a new chalkboard outside the diner. It reads, "Tonight's special, closure. Served warm." You don't go in. You just smile because you've already tasted something close. You sit on a curb, unwrap the snack bar with your own handwriting. It crumbles softly. Tastes like honesty and overcooked oatmeal. You swallow, and somewhere, inside your chest, a door swings open with a sound like a sigh. Orchard Falls is quiet now, but you know it's listening, and for once, you don't mind being heard. You don't wake up the next morning because you never really went to sleep. In Orchard Falls, the boundary between dream and rest is thin, like the last wafer in a crinkled foil bag, barely hanging together, too fragile to hold, but too precious to throw away. You're lying on a bench near the bus stop that doesn't serve buses anymore. Above you, the sky is that uncertain grey that comes just before dawn or right after disappointment. You sit up slowly. Something crackles beneath you. You reach down and find a newspaper. Today's date, but it's printed entirely in flavour. Notes instead of headlines. Top story. Crisp returns with notes of lemon, guilt, and mild jazz. Second story. Chef confesses, "I never measured cinnamon, I just felt it." The obituary column is empty. Because nothing ever really dies here, it just changes flavour. You start walking again, because at this point, you trust your feet more than your memories. They lead you somewhere new, but not unfamiliar. The Snackatorium. Yes, that's the actual name. The building itself looks like a theatre, and a bakery had a secret child. Velvet ropes, marquee lights, and the faint, ever-present scent of vanilla bean and broken promises. A sign over the door reads, "Tonight, only, the flavour you didn't choose." Inside, the lobby is quiet. A single usher waves you forward. They hand you a ticket with no seat number, just a flavour, Coriander Cloud, Missed Opportunity flavour, 1988. You enter the theatre. You sit, and the lights dim. On the screen, a silent film. No dialogue, no narration. Just you, various versions, ages, moods. In every scene, a different snack. You recognize some. Others are inventions you swear never existed. Spice, spiral taffy, caffeine kisses, night, onion crunchlets. Each version of you reacts the same. Surprised, comforted, slightly changed. Then the screen flickers, goes black. Words appear. This is the flavour you never picked. And suddenly, you're watching a scene you don't remember. You at a vending machine, hesitating, then pressing a button, and immediately regretting it. Next to that button was another one, unpressed. The screen zooms in on it, lemon regret, with forgiveness dust. The film ends, the lights come up, the usher hands you something small, wrapped, soft. It's that snack. The one you didn't choose. You walk out in silence, unwrap it, eat. It's sour at first, makes your tongue curl like an apology, but then it shifts, becomes something rounder, softer. Like when someone says, "I forgive you," and you finally believe they mean it. You sit on the front steps of the snackatorium and just breathe. You don't rush this one. As the morning begins to build itself from dew and expectation, you notice something strange. The streets are quiet, like actually quiet. Not listening, not humming, just still. And for the first time since you arrived, you wonder, am I getting close to the edge of this town? You reach into your pocket. The flavor card, the mint wrapper, the cube, the index note, each one still there. And now you add the latest, a small, crumpled wax paper from the lemon regret. It sticks a little because closure always does. You stand and you start walking again. There's no map here, only direction, only mood. But you know somehow that you're walking toward the part of the story where it begins to whisper, where taste fades into feeling and feeling fades into sleep. There's a tree in Orchard Falls that no one planted. At least, that's what the locals say. It stands in the center of an abandoned lot, surrounded by bricks that never got around to becoming a building. Tall, twisted, its bark the color of burnt toast, its leaves shimmer, not green, not gold, but something in between, like memory trying to disguise itself as foliage. You approach it slowly. There's a bench nearby. You sit. The wind rustles the branches above and you swear it sounds like paper being shuffled. Not just any paper, recipe cards. Old ones with notes in the margins. Too salty? Add nutmeg. Never again, but maybe once more. And then you see it. A small wooden sign nailed to the tree's trunk. It reads, "This is the tree of unnamed flavors. Sit quietly and it will show you the one you never invented." You do. You sit. You close your eyes and you wait, and something begins to rise, not in front of you, in you, a flavor you've never tasted but already miss. Something like lavender steam, ginger sadness, a graham cracker that apologizes before it crumbles. You don't know what it's called, but you know what it feels like. You felt it in the pause before a hug, in the first quiet moment after bad news, in the smell of someone's sweater long after they've left. It's a flavor built not for chewing, but for understanding, and it stays with you long after you open your eyes. The wind shifts, a leaf falls, spins in the air like it's trying to remember which way is down, and lands gently in your lap. It's warm, and when you pick it up, you see something carved into it. You almost named it. You still can. You tuck the leaf into your jacket pocket, and you begin to walk again. You pass the Center for Flavor Recovery, a building that looks like a hospital, and a soda fountain got into a polite disagreement. A banner flaps lazily overhead. Taste what? You forgot to miss. Inside, a receptionist greets you with a clipboard made of wafer. Would you like to recover a flavor or donate one? They ask, like it's the most normal question in the world. You pause, you think, and you say, donate. Because finally, you're ready to let something go. They nod. Lead you to a room that smells like apple cores and lightning bugs. You sit. You close your eyes and you think of a snack you loved once but haven't seen in years. You picture the way it crunched, the way it surprised you, the way it didn't come with baggage, and then it's gone, released. Maybe it will show up in someone else's story. Maybe it will be the one thing that pulls someone back from the edge. That's the thing about flavor. It travels, you leave the center feeling lighter, not healed, not fixed, just carrying less. You walk until you reach the edge of town, not a wall, not a gate, just a subtle change in the air, like the pause before a curtain rises or falls. There's a sign, last chance, snacks. Take one if you mean it, a wooden box. Inside, a single wafer wrapped in soft paper. You pick it up, you smile, and you walk forward, not out, but through. You don't feel the moment you cross the boundary, no bells ring, no lights flicker. It's quieter than that, more intimate. Like turning the page in a book you didn't know you were writing, realizing there are fewer pages ahead than behind, and being okay with that. You walk into the dust market, a place that only appears at the end of flavor journeys. It's not on any map, it's not even in Orchard Falls. But everyone who's ever tasted something unforgettable ends up here eventually. It looks like a flea market at first glance, folding tables, mismatched signs, rugs that don't quite cover the ground. But as you walk past the stalls, you realize what's being sold isn't stuff. It's sense, it's essence. One booth sells first bite recreations. A man with a typewriter will type out your memory of a snack's very first taste, then offer a candy that feels like that moment, rather than replicating it. You pass a woman grinding dried citrus into glass jars labeled pre-nostalgia. She hands you a sample. It tastes like the excitement before opening a present, before you know if it's the thing you wanted or the thing that will become the thing you'll always treasure. Another table offers flavor echoes. They only work at night, the vendor warns. Just chew and listen, she says, slipping one into your palm. Sometimes they laugh back. You keep moving until you reach a stall marked "What was almost delicious." The vendor doesn't speak, just gestures to a row of jars, each filled with something suspended in honey-colored gel. You read the labels: pumpkin and regret, prototype, never sold. Crisp silence, rejected for being too honest. Warm buttered hope, evaporated before packaging. One jar near the end is unlabeled, but as you peer into it, you see your own face reflected in the surface. Aged slightly, softened around the edges. You ask what that one is. The vendor finally speaks, and that one's yours. You almost invented it once. You nod, slowly. You don't take it. Some flavors are better left unopened. At the far edge of the market is a curtain, fluttering even though there's no wind. It's made of snack wrappers stitched together with silver thread. A hand-painted sign dangles above it, tasting room. Only those who've let go may enter. You hesitate, but only briefly. You've carried flavors. You've surrendered them. You've chewed through grief, sweetness, longing, and strange corn-based theology. You walk through inside silence and then a table. One seat, a single snack, sits in the center, not wrapped, not labeled, just there. You sit. You eat. It tastes like everything and nothing at once. It tastes like coming home to yourself. Like the moment after the tears, when the breath returns and the light through the window feels warm again. When it's done, the table is gone. You're sitting on grass. Sunlight filters through leaves above you, and somewhere, faintly, you hear the sound of a cat purring, a campfire popping, a soda fizzing open all at once. It's not magic, it's just flavor. Doing what flavor does, you lie back, close your eyes, and the earth beneath you hums with every snack you've ever loved, and the ones still waiting to be discovered. You don't need to eat anymore. You've tasted enough, And for the first time in a long time, you feel full. Not in your stomach, in your life. You wake, not suddenly, not sharply, more like floating up through a warm bath drawn by memory instead of water. You're in a meadow, a real one, you think? Or maybe a very convincing metaphor. Either way, the air is gentle. The grass bends politely beneath you, and the sky above looks like someone finally got the color correction right. Soft golds, sleepy blues, a sun that doesn't rush. You sit up slowly. There's a picnic blanket spread beside you. No food, just wrappers. All empty. All folded with care. Someone respected every bite. You see your name written on one of them. You smile because you don't remember eating it, but you know it helped. You stand. Ahead is a path, narrow, winding, lined with wild herbs and the occasional discarded candy. Stick, the kind they stopped making in the 60s because they made kids too reflective. You follow it. At the crest of a small hill, you find a sign. Thank you for tasting. Take what you've learned, leave what you no longer need. Beneath it, a small wooden box. You open it. Inside, one last Fizzle Thin, wrapped in clear paper. No label, no instructions. You unwrap it, and it crumbles the moment it touches your hand, but you don't mind, because now, you know, the flavor was never meant to be kept, only carried. The wind picks up, soft like a sigh you didn't realize was waiting in your lungs. You close your eyes, and you let it all return. The lemon dust, the whispering vending machine, the tree of unnamed flavors, the snack, train you never quite saw but always somehow felt, each one dissolving back into your memory like powdered sugar into tea. Nothing lost, just gently rearranged. The path loops around one last bend, and there it is, the exit. No fanfare, no big goodbye, just a narrow wooden gate, slightly crooked, and a bell above it with a note. Ring if it meant something. You reach up, you pause, and then you ring it. It sounds like a bite into something crisp and kind. It echoes softly across the fields, then fades. You step through the gate, and the world doesn't shift or swirl or shimmer. It just continues, but now you carry something different. You carry the sweetness of what was, the warmth of what could be, and the soft crunch of a truth you didn't know you needed. You've been part of the flavor all along. Now dim the lights, let the hum of the day fade. Let the last traces of taste settle into silence. You are full, you are home, you are whole.